Hello everyone, welcome to UiPath tutorial with Level Up Tech. In our last session, we have seen the concept called selector, and we have seen like why the selector is needed and what is the importance of the selector. And under selector, we were having two concepts, right? That is the types of selector. One is partial selector, and the other one is full selector. And we have seen what is full selector and what is partial selector and when to use these selectors. And if you're clear with this particular concept, then we can move ahead with the use case. And if you haven't seen this particular video, then I would recommend you to watch this video first and then start with this particular video. Okay, so here in today's session we are going to see a use case. Okay, so we have seen the selector concept, right? So in this video we are going to demonstrate that. Okay, so with the example only we can understand more things, right? So in this video we will see the use case. Okay, so the scenario here is whatever application nowadays in day-to-day life, right? So whatever application that we are consuming, in all the application we have something called as login mechanism. Let's take the example Facebook or Instagram. On daily basis we are consuming these applications, right? So in these applications we have the login mechanism. When I say login mechanism, it means you are, if you want to send the friend request or if you want to see reels, right, in Instagram, then you have to log in into that particular application by giving the username and password. So it is not only for our application whatever we are consuming, in organization level also, across all the application, for all the application we have this login mechanism. So when we are going to do the automation, first of all we have to tackle or we have to able to clear this particular login thing, right? So in our today's video we are going to work on this particular, or we are going to automate this login mechanism only. Okay, so for that I have a challenge page. So I'll walk you through the challenge page first, then we will see. Okay, so here we have lot of challenges, but the very first thing is login mechanism, right? So we will start with this particular login mechanism, and in the upcoming sessions we will cover rest of the challenges. Okay, so the use case of this particular scenario is, see, we have a challenge page, we will be having a login page. Okay, so this is the login page. Once that particular URL is loaded, this is the page you will be getting. So here we have to provide the email address and then password, and then we have to click on sign. So this is the logging in scenario, right? So this is what we are going to automate. Okay, now you might have a question where we will get this email address and password. Okay, here itself they have mentioned what username that we have to use and what password that we have to use. So by giving this username and password we would be able to log in into that particular application. So just I'm going to do it manually now, whether it is letting us in or not, or what we are going to get after providing the username and password. As soon as I provide username and password and click on sign in, it is giving awesome, you got it right, which means whatever username and password that we have given, it is correct, and it is telling us how much time you have taken to complete this particular process and how much accuracy it is. It is 100% accuracy because we have provided the correct username and password, right? So we are going to demonstrate the very same example with the help of UiPath. Okay, so now I'm in my UiPath studio. So if you want to create a new process, you can create it, or else if you want to go with your existing process itself, yes, you can do. Okay, the very first thing is to get into this particular page. First of all, we have to log in into this particular, like we have to give this particular URL, right? Then only our UiPath will know like which thing that it has to open, right? So primarily when I in application, right, we will be having two types of application. One is desktop application and the other one is web application. Okay, so this is a web application. Why we are calling this as web application? Because this has been loaded in browser. Okay, whenever we are opening anything in the browser like Chrome browser, Edge or Firefox, this kind of browser, then it is called as web application. And here we have Edge and File Explorer, and we have something like UiPath Studio. The Studio is one of the good example for desktop application. Okay, so this is a web application. So in order to open this particular web page, we have to provide the URL first. Okay, so we'll see how we can provide the URL in UiPath. Okay, so first of all we have to open that particular web page, right? So I'm typing with the keyword open. Okay, as soon as I type the word keyword open, I'm getting two things. Okay, you will be getting multiple things, but in order to open the application, you have to consider these top two. Okay, this is open application and the other one is open browser. Open application is used for opening your desktop applications. Okay, and open browser, with the name itself you can see it is used for opening your web-based applications. Basically it is going to invoke your browser, and inside in it, like, it is going to open the URL whatever you are going to specify. In the definition itself you can see, right, a container that enables you to open a browser. First it will open a browser at a specified URL. Whatever URL that we are going to specify, it will launch that particular web page. Okay, so I'm dragging this particular activity because the target application is a web-based application. Okay, and now in the properties panel, it is the important one. Okay, in properties panel you have browser type. Okay, so UiPath is now asking us to choose the browser type. Okay, which browser you want to open. So I want to open Chrome browser. In your case it can differ also. You can go with Edge browser, or if you have Firefox you can go with that also. Okay, I'll go with Chrome browser. Okay, and now the second thing, what it is asking, okay, you are asking me to open Chrome browser. Now tell me which web page or which web application that you want to open. So how we can provide, like how we can tell UiPath to open that particular web page? By giving the URL only, right? So let's copy this URL and we'll put it over here. And if you see the data type, right, it is a string. Whenever we are going to provide string, then we have to specify within double quotes. This is the base, right? So this is also done. So now we have told UiPath, see, you have to open Chrome browser, and after opening the Chrome browser you have to launch this particular URL. This is what we have instructed UiPath to do. Okay, so now let's see whether it is opening this particular web page or not. See, I have closed all the other stuffs, only this particular page is there, and when I run this particular file, it should open that particular web page. So let's see whether it is opening or not. And as we can see, it has opened a new instance of Chrome. Now you would be having two instances of Chrome. One is this particular window and the other one is this particular window. It has opened this particular URL in a new window. Okay, so now we can consider this particular piece of code is working as per our expectation. Okay, so now what we have to do, now UiPath has opened as that particular web page. Now it is asking us what you want to do after launching that web page. So here what we want to do, here we have to enter the email address and we have to give the password, right? Those has to go inside the do container. Okay, it is like we are telling UiPath to do that particular job. Okay, so whatever we are going to give inside this do activity or do container, that will be getting executed after the launch of this particular web page. Okay, so now we have to provide the email address, right? How we will do it manually? First we have to define that first, right? So how we can type it manually, like how we can enter the email address manually, by using which component of our machine we can do it? Using keyboard only we can type the value, right? So we are going to consume our keyboard, like if you are going with manual approach. And for password also, we will be going to consume our keyboard component to type the value. And for this particular button, it is a button, and using our mouse or using our mouse trackpad only, we are going to do a click function, right? So similarly in UiPath also, if we want to type something, right, then we would be having an activity called type into. Okay, see the activity, what it is going to do, what is its functionality. Sends keystrokes to a UI element. We know what is UI element already, right? So whatever we are going to specify, that will be typed over there. Okay, so now we have given type into. Here we have multiple UI elements. This one logo is one UI element, and this particular thing is one UI element. When I say UI element, it is user interface element. Whatever we are seeing in the screen, that is called as user interface, and inside in it we have multiple elements, right? This email address label is one UI element, and this particular text box is another UI element, and this password is one UI element, and this text box is another UI element, and this button is one another UI element. So now we have to tell UiPath to enter the username in this particular text box field. Okay, so for that we have something called as indicate element inside browser. Using this only we can indicate the respective UI element. Okay, so as soon as I hit on indicate on screen, see, we will be getting this particular thing. How we are getting? Using Chrome extension. While you are installing the UiPath Studio, that time itself the plugins also will be getting enabled. So with the help of plugin, UiPath is able to communicate with our browsers. Okay, now I have indicated this particular field, and we know the selector concept already. So whenever you are going to indicate something, you will be getting something called a selector. What is the selector? It is nothing but the address, right? So you can see input, email and input. Okay, so always you have to ensure this selector is not getting changed. Okay, so how you can validate that? Again, just refresh the page. Okay, so I have refreshed the page. Sometimes what will happen, right, whenever you are refreshing the browser, the address of this particular field will be getting changed. Okay, so in order to make sure that it is not getting changed or it is being static, right, you have to again do edit selector and click on validate. Okay, once you get green color icon, right, which means it is a valid selector, and if you are getting red color icon, which means it is not a valid selector. See, just to show you, I will delete L from this particular thing, and we got something called yellow color, right, which means, see, you have made some changes. Just validate the selector whether it is there valid or not. Now we are getting invalid because we know, like, we have changed this particular value, right? Again I will change it, and it is telling validate because we have modified the selector now. So when I click on validate again, it is getting validated. Now we can say this is a valid selector and it is not going to change dynamically. Okay, now we have indicated the email address field, and we have to give what we want to provide. At that particular field we have to give this particular value, right, the email address value, that is the corresponding value it should go, right? So now I'm going to provide that over here, and it is a string data type, so we have to enclose within double quotes. Now this is done, and the other one is, again we have the one more field, that is password field, right? So we have to indicate that also. Okay, and repeat the same steps to make sure the selector is valid or not. Okay, so here let's copy the password. Now I'm going to provide it over here. So now these two things are done. See, where we got this type into activity, it is there under UI automation. Yes, we are going to do the user interface automation only. Yes, that is done. Under element we have something called as keyboard. So manually also we will be consuming our keyboard, right? Similarly, it is also available under keyboard. Under keyboard only you have type into. Okay, and finally, after providing the username and password, we have to do a click, right? So how we will do click? Using mouse only we would be able to see here. UI automation, under element, you under mouse you have something called as click and a double click, but we want to do a single click only, so I'm dragging this particular activity over here and I'm going to indicate the target UI element. So this is our target UI element and I have indicated it. So now our job is done. Okay, so we are thinking like it will get executed, right? So let's see whether it is meeting our expectation or not. First it has to launch that particular web page and then it has to enter the username and password. Finally it has to click on login. Let's see. It is loading the URL and it is entering the email address and now it enters the password. Finally it is clicking on sign in and you can see, right, how much time it has taken. Like when we were doing manually it was about 24 seconds, right? But now you could see like it was able to complete within 0.00 seconds itself. Okay, that much speed it is. Okay, and here see in UiPath also now we were able to achieve our final result, but we have to follow certain best practices as well. Okay, so what are all those best practices? See, giving your username and password inside the workflow is not the best thing, right? Why? The reason behind is, see, anyone have access to this particular code, they would be able to see the credential. So always the password should be in a encrypted format, right? So that's why the user will be not able to breach the applications and all. Okay, they will be not able to take any wrong actions inside the application, right? In order to ensure that, we should not be using the password like the hard coded value that we have used over here. Okay, so how we can do that? In UiPath we have the concept called asset. Okay, asset is like a locker. Okay, in the locker we will be storing the money and some jewelry, right? Like that, here also we have something called as asset, and inside that asset we have the ability to store the username and password. Okay, and one more reason for storing these values inside the asset, right? See, now your username is something this and your password is something this. Okay, and if you have the password rotation policy, right, every 60 days your password is going to get changed, then at that time if your code is in production environment, your code will get failed, right? In that case, again you have to bring back your code to development and you have to make the changes. Again you have to follow a tedious process and again you have to deploy it in production. But suppose if we store all those values, whatever things that is going to get changed, right, basically configurable things, if we store it in a centralized location, we would be able to change it easily without doing any code changes, right? So for that also we would be using asset. Okay, so I am in my asset page and I am going to create an asset called login page. So this is my asset name. Okay, and here in asset you would be having different types. Okay, so these three things we will see later, but for today's session we will focus on credential asset, because we are going to store credentials, right? Then the respective type should be credential. As soon as you choose credential type, here you would be getting username and password to store. So what we have to store? The username is this one, right? So we will store this particular username over here, and the password, this is our password and we will store it over here. So now it is done and I am going to hit on create. Now the asset has been created, and what is the name of our asset? This is the name of our asset. So using this particular asset only, we are going to get those values. Okay, instead of directly hard coding the values right? We are going to get the values from the asset and we are going to consume it in our UiPath Studio. How we can get the values from the asset? For that, we have the activity called get credential. Okay, we would be having two activities. One is get asset and the other one is get credential. Okay, if you have chosen your type as credential, right, when you are creating the asset, at that then you have to go with this particular activity. Apart from that, apart from credential type, we have three more types, right? That is integer, boolean, and one more thing. So in order to get the values from those things, right, then at the time we have to go with get asset activity. Now we can go with create credential activity, and I have given that over here, and now it is asking us to choose the folder path. So inside this particular folder only I have created the asset, and as soon as I hit on asset name, see, this is the asset name that we have created, right? And I'm going to mention that over here. And here this particular activity is giving two outputs. One is username and the password, because we have stored username and password only, right, in the asset. So let's create cred underscore username. Here cred indicates credential data type. Okay, and again cred underscore password. So now we have created these two variables. So this variable cred underscore username will have that particular username whatever we have stored in the asset. Okay, and this password will contain that password what we have stored. So now with this variable we would be easily give it, right? So I'm going to call that particular cred username. So at runtime, whatever values that we have stored inside that particular asset, that will be coming over here in the username field. And cred password is the one more thing that we have created. So now see, as soon as I give that cred password over here, we are getting one error. What's the error? From error messages only we would be able to learn multiple things. Okay, here it says value of type secure string cannot be converted to string. Okay, so in order to track what that error is, right, see, the password data type is secure string, but here this particular text field is something, you can see text field is something called a string data type. Secure string and a string data type, it is completely different. Okay, so in order to overcome with this error, right, we have an activity called, see, again I'm typing type the keyword, and you would be able to see something called as type secure text. It says the functionality of this particular activity. It says what it says: sends a secure string to a UI element. Okay, so I'm going to give this particular activity. Again, you have to indicate it, the password field. So we have indicated it, and here in secure text you can see what is the data type. It is secure string, right? And this password field, the output of this password field is also secure string. So we can use this variable over here. By that we can avoid that error. Okay, see, now it is not giving any error. Okay, again I'm closing this particular application. Again I'm rerunning my bot. This time we were not hard coding the value, instead we are getting the value from the asset. Okay, and if your password is getting changed, simply you can log in into your orchestrator, and into the asset you can simply change that particular password. See, now it is able to get the value, right? So this is the best practices. These are all the best practices that we have to keep it in our mind. Okay, always we should not hard code the value, that is the username and password majorly. Okay, and whatever it is going to get changed dynamically, right, those things also. See here one example, right, apart from credential data type, see this particular URL, it is something like this today. Suppose the provider is changing the URL tomorrow. See, labs we have, right? If tomorrow it is getting changed to labs 1, again we will get an error, because here we have labs but the actual URL is labs1. Then at the time the page will not get loaded, so our automation will break. So these things also we can store in our asset itself. Okay, because these are all the things which will get changed, right, which can be changed. So whatever you think, those things, whatever you think that will be getting changed in future, right, those things and all you can store it inside the asset. Okay, I hope this video is helpful for you guys, and thanks for watching this video, guys. And here is our website URL we have, and I will give you this particular URL in the description of this particular video. Kindly do check it out. And the surprise of this website, right, it is built using UiPath apps itself. Okay, so I haven't used any HTML or any CSS code, so just by dragging and dropping how we are doing the automation, similarly it is also built. And if you are interested to know this, how we have built this particular website, right, then just do interested in the comment section, so that I'll let you know, guys, in the upcoming video. Like for this particular thing also we will do a separate video for UiPath apps also. Okay, and one more time, thank you guys, thank you for watching this video, and have a great day.